In exercise 3.1L, we went through the steps required to copy one single row and put it into your Google form. But imagine if you have 5 rows, you need to do it 5 times. If you have 20 rows, 20 times, 100 rows, 100 times. It might not be so feasible. How can we actually make the actions repeat themselves? So let's take a look at how we can do that in 3.2L. Please make sure that you are in the 3.2L tab. Remove the arrow linking, go to cell A2 to form fill. Go to the activities tab, look for an assigned activity and drag it in. If you mouse over, you will see that there's an arrow that is highlighted in slightly darker blue. Let go of it and it will directly connect. Now we have this assign. We want to assign a value to a variable. But before we assign, we need to first create a new variable. So the new variable we are creating is called count. This count helps us to keep track of how many times the loop has run, or rather how many times we want the loop to run. So at the very start, count would always take the value of 0. So you initialize it, the value to be 0. Please make sure that you also create the variable count inside your variable tab. The type of this variable would be integer 32, and you would see that once I have created, there's no more error inside the count or the assigned activity. Count is the variable that is helping us keep track of the number of times that the loop has run. And for a start, what we have done is to initialize the value of count to store the value of 0. Next, we actually need some sort of mechanism to set a condition so that at a certain point, based on the value of count, the loop will stop running. For this, we require the do while activity. Next, instead of directly connecting your form field to the assign, what we want to do is to cut out the section that is going to be repeated and put into the do while activity. So form field is the section that is going to be repeated. Right click on it and select the cut option. Double click onto the do while loop. You can delete away this body, and now you can paste the value you can paste your form field into the do while loop. Beyond having the form field inside the do while loop container, we have a few other activities that we need to add to form field so that the activities can repeat itself. First of which, we need to add a click button, or rather a click activity, so that the order form, you can submit another response to the order form. That's the first step. Second step, we need the Excel sheet to move from row 1 to row 2, or rather, in our specific case, from row 2 to row 3. Remember that the active cell ended off in the last script at cell C2, and what we want is to move to cell A3. So what we need to do is to put in 2 buttons, home and then down. Let's see how we can do that in UiPath. Add a type into activity, indicate on screen, and go back to the Excel sheet. And select the home button. Let's find it. Followed by the down button. So here are the last 2 things we need to take care of. Every time the loop runs, we need to increment the count by 1. Previously, we said that count helps us to keep track of the number of times that the loop has completed. Therefore, at the end, once we reach the end of the loop, we need to increment the count by 1. So we do that by including an assigned activity, and the formula would be count equals count plus 1. So the value of count now increments by 1, which is the plus 1. The last thing we need to do is that we need to set the condition. We have 5 rows, therefore we need the count, or rather the loop, to run 5 times. Therefore the condition is that count is less than 5. That brings us to the end of exercise 3.2. All that is left is to test the program. So let's save it. Make sure that you have your order form open. So let me get mine open. And once your order form is open, you can use the play button to test it out. So let's see if this works. So it seems that our program works perfectly. I hope yours does too. Proceed to the next video for the remaining section, or the remaining lesson, which is exercise 3.3L. See you in the next video.